exactly what he told the last. I asked everybody. I also emailed Mr. Sayers with no response. I asked all the board members for their opinion. The only one that gave me their true, honest opinion was Mr. Bob Kamnikar, who I want to thank very much. It proves to me that somebody does represent the people of Amherst. An Amherst parent texted me yesterday after church at Trinity Church in Amherst. She said, "Vicki, my kids are so upset about this." I said, "How so?" I said, "How do your children know?" Young children. She said that a person of opposite sex would come into their bathroom. They're talking about it at brunch this morning after church. My Nick will never use the bathroom at school, and Hannah is really scared. Johnny, who's going to be in 7th grade, said, "All the bad kids are going to use that rule, and they're going to get into the girls' bathroom, Mom." As we often say, out of the mouths of babes. The mom then went on to say, "I thought Mr. Sayers and Mr. Molnar were men with integrity and good moral values, and I was hoping that the school board members that I voted for shared the same integrity and good moral values." She says, "Vicki, why aren't they handling this with more caution? There's so many compromises that can be made." I'm telling you, and I'm telling everybody in the audience, this is opening up a huge can of worms. This will go way beyond the hours of school and into the hours of extracurricular activities, such as basketball games that bring in hundreds from other communities on a Friday night, perhaps the Comet Relays that bring in over 1,000 people. Men will be going into the female restrooms. They don't have to be dressed like a woman if they're transgender. They can be bearded and dressed like a male. Male coaches will now be able to go into the girls' locker room, and female coaches will have the opportunity to go into the boys' locker rooms. What about the teachers' bathrooms? I was thinking with my friend, maybe the teachers and staff should practice this decision made by our administration first and report back to us as citizens how it goes. Also, transgenders can be homosexual or straight. This is putting a lot of pressure on the transgender students if you think it through. You are putting all students and all children at risk. Transgender persons and the LGBTQ community are not asking for equal rights. What they are asking for are special rights that violate the dignity and the privacy of women and girls and simple common sense. Mr. Sayers, I am asking you to please reconsider your decision to comply to this unlawful mandate and do what is right for the children of the Amherst School District. After all, Mike DeWine, the Attorney General of Ohio, has given you and all the other districts his promise to vigorously defend each one of the school district's interests. I am pleading with you. Some people might recognize my name because I fought against Common Core and the park test and over-testing. I invited every one of you gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, to the meeting. The only one, Teresa Gillis. We had a forum of over 120 people, standing room only. I asked Mr. Sayers to speak. I had to have the superintendent of Avon Lake come and speak. Every school board was there. Firelands, Avon Lake, but the Amherst School Board. I sent every one of you emails. I sent Ron Yacobosi 12 emails. Mr. Molnar came to sit in the office. I teach in Lorain City Schools. My superintendent came to represent me. We need to have more support from you. We elect each and every one of you to represent us. At a breakfast, I was talking to two parents, and she said, "Vicki, it makes you wonder, do they really represent us, or is the board simply order takers?" I am pleading you to reconsider, Mr. Sayers, and make a compromise that is good for all. Thank you very much.
Kristen?
I'm Kirsten Penton Hill, and I thank all of you and your families for all the time and effort you have given to the community over the years. And also thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Way back when, my father and grandfather were on the Amherst School Board, and I have been a member of the Amherst Schools Education Foundation for many years, and am interested in things being on the up and up in this community. We citizens vote by democratic process for the maintenance of our schools and teachers. You as school board members were democratically elected, and we ask that you please consider the democratic process in regards to the Dear Colleague letter, which is very concerning to the community. We do not want you to collapse from fear or political correctness, as did the superintendent on this issue, which is so important to the cohesiveness of our community. The Dear Colleague letter, dated May 13th, sent by the Federal Department of Justice and the Federal Department of Education, is merely an introduction. Yes, you can take a look at the threats and the punishments involved. It contains threatening language, for example, loss of financial support, but this letter does not have the force of law. This is something conjured up by the Washington bureaucracy. I am sure of this, as you see in the letter that you have from Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine, who is saying he will defend us. So please follow the democratic process by studying this issue, researching the issue, and speaking with others before you take any action. Please read Attorney General DeWine's letter. Please research it more, deliberate it, and have public hearings. The superintendent and the local school board is here to serve us, not the Federal Department of Justice and not the Federal Department of Education.
And I repeat her thanks to you serving as our board members and assuring a good school district that we've all witnessed. I'm here as a parent of adult children who attended Amherst schools, grandmother of children who will attend schools in Lorain County, and a taxpayer who has an interest in the well-being of this district. I'm a former educator myself. I've been an active participant in the music culture for, I hate to say this, 52 years. And so I'm in no way any type of a protected, narrow-minded person. I understand the culture that we are working to protect, and I also understand all sides. I became involved because of the lack of policy and due process, which would put our children and adults in possible jeopardy, creating an issue with, and if we are in jeopardy and in turn get sued for anything that is, someone gets hurt in a situation, we as taxpayers have our property rights in jeopardy also, because that will cost our district money, and let alone the protection of everybody involved. As was earlier spoken to, the bigger issues are not just the dear sweet children that you probably are encountering daily and taking it. You said that they've been handled in an individual basis, which is awesome. I'm not encouraging intolerance, but I am encouraging wisdom. If you're enacting a policy, you need to bring in the conversation and the what ifs before it's written. 10, 15 years, you didn't even need a policy, or 10 years ago, you didn't need a policy like this, but now we have new issues thrust upon us from above, and if they had done the proper discussion up at the level instead of just mandating a letter, you would not be sitting listening to all of us and taking a lot of time. And I think there needs to be some pushback on that. I think all of us were kind of disturbed in the method that this was. And so that's why I am standing here, that due process happens forever. This might not be a hot button issue for certain people. We all might be on different sides, but someday an issue that's really big is going to not follow due process. And unless we stand here and say it needs to happen, then we are relinquishing any right to complain later on. I just kind of thought by the announcement of the change of times and the limiting of times that you were trying to circumvent dialogue. I hope that's not true. But I do say, please consider, if there are other people that need to speak, don't assume that we're all saying the same thing. There may be 5, 7 of us that are going to say that we've, thought about this issue a little bit together, but please don't assume. And let's see, trying to implement without cogent policy is doing a disservice to our district and a bit precipitous, actually. Due process we've talked about, property rights we've talked about. No one wants to be singled out as different and having a hard time living a life that's hard enough as it is. However, forever people have had to deal with that. ADHD, they have to be taken out of the room and taken the test separately. They didn't make every individual child take a separate test. So, you know, everybody has had to make accommodations. I hope you work together with everyone, and that is all I have to say. So thank you very much. I really trust your good judgment for really listening and doing your due diligence in researching this project.
Amy?
My name is Amy, and I come before you, the board, just to express my views as a resident here in Amherst and a mother of 2 children. I would just ask that you be open to all opinions and all views, and the way that this has come about with this meeting has me feeling as though our views are not wanting to be heard. I understand you giving us the time to listen to us here, but not being able to consider all giving us that opportunity to be input and hear what's going to happen. These are our children we're speaking about. These are, we're trying to accommodate a few, of course, to give them equal, show them love and show them compassion, but there's also a position that you're putting the other children in that makes them feel, not all, but I know for my children, makes them feel uncomfortable in our conversations. And I just ask that you please just, as we go forward, just listen to us as parents, accept us, our views. We all have different views, but allow us to, really care about, give us the opportunity to be heard. And please consider us, because, we want to consider those select few and make them feel, cared for, but we also have other children's needs to meet as well. I thank you for your time, and I trust that you will go forward and do this for us.
Joe?
Hello, my name is Joe Kozak. I'm here the same for most of the people here. I'm a father of 2 young girls that will be entering the Amherst School District this coming fall, and am concerned about their safety and their feelings being kept in front of everybody else, as they will be approaching the situation the same way. I'm also concerned with the fact that how this was being pushed through. It seemed like it was a forced issue, not allowing the same due process that was mentioned before, and not to forget the feelings of the students that are here, and everyone's here that's to support the transgenders, but we need to make sure that we consider all the kids that are invested in the schools as well. Not just one small group or another small group, but the entirety. Thank you.
Joshua Smith?
First of all, my name is Josh Smith. I just want to say thank you guys for serving in the role that you do. And my statements are rooted in the fact that I'm also a dad of 2 daughters. And is it Jean? Jean, thank you for sharing. I think that everybody, to say everybody wouldn't be an accurate statement, but the conversation of the transgender conversation is one that's I would say that the vast majority of us are not experts in. However, the research that if it is about transgender and making everyone feel like their needs are provided, the research that I was doing in we can research things and find out our own information that we're looking for. I wanted to be non-biased. When I see that the suicide rate accelerates or jumps up significantly for those that are transgender, the solution to provide bathrooms is not the solution in my mind. Another response from my perspective would be to help, whether that would be counseling or whether that would be some other form of help, but providing restrooms is not the route in my mind to go. If we speak from value, making the decision to provide bathrooms is not valuing, it's just enabling them to walk out this very confusing, as many universities call USC, Williams, which is another USC school, they call it a disorder. And I feel like we're making a decision it's just not the route that we need to go. I would also iterate that the process of how this was handled, it's clear with the communication all on the part of everyone out here, and no response from the board is not representing. It just doesn't, to put it in layman's terms, it just doesn't look good. And I understand that you all are put between a rock and a hard place. I would encourage you not to be bullied by the federal government. You have the Ohio Attorney General that's willing to fight for this. And I know that there are, I would say this, that there are organizations within this community that would be eager to, if acceptance is part of the conversation. I am part of an organization that would be very willing to accept and embrace and have conversations with individuals so that they feel accepted. And so hearing the precursor of how this meeting was going to go, I did have questions for you, but if they're not going to be answered, then I'll just do what others have done and send emails until those questions get answered. But that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Hello there, and good afternoon. And again, I too thank you for this. But I think the real thing is that you're looking at a very small portion of kids in this community who are transgender. You're not looking at the big number of the children that are in our community that are not, and that should not have to be in kindergarten age and on up exposed to this. The world is tough enough. There's enough evil and garbage in the world without putting it in the education process. We are not here to educate our children on transgender. We're here to teach them about math and things that will make them successful men and women. And I have a grandchild that goes to the Amherst schools, and I would in no way want her to be pushed into this. There are children who are so naive to the world because the parents have tried to raise them in the right way that they don't even know what the word transgender means. And I don't think that in kindergarten age they need to know that word, because it should not really be part of their vocabulary and have to worry about a boy coming into the girls and vice versa. Our children's lives are in jeopardy because a decision has been made. It's not about the money, it's about our children and their lives. Thank you.
Forgive me for not being a great public speaker, but I remember years ago going to this talk, and to me, to this day, it still remains in my mind. The homosexual, transgender, that is a learned process. You may have, it runs in families sometimes alcoholism runs in families and other things, but you can overcome with some help. And I just want everybody to love the children. We don't want anybody to be bullied, but I am terrified to think that my little granddaughter could be in the bathroom and the male could walk in. You know, we have these instant cell phones. That could be a porn thing. They could sell it on the internet. Our parents have no say. We don't know what these people are going to do. And it may only be 1 in 1,000, but 1 in 1,000 can cause great damage. And also, I just learned recently, your gender identification isn't established until you're at least 21 years old. And The ones that have the operation, time and time again, like the man said, they commit suicide because they find out they cannot change what God created. You cannot change something that God created. You can try, but you can't. And I just thank everybody for listening. Let's have compassion. Let's never bully anybody. Help us to love everybody, to work for the good of everybody. Thank you.
We're going to listen to everyone that's on here, okay? Mr. Henry?
Rich Henry, I'm a resident of Amherst for 28 years. I really appreciate you having this public hearing. Appreciate the opportunity to express our concerns. I personally do not see how this ruling can affect anything other than a K through 12 situation in terms of equality. So we certainly are concerned about all of that. I too am concerned about the privacy and the safety of our students. If we think for a moment that this is about school, we're kidding ourselves. This will not stop at a school level. And it seems to me that this is worth addressing and fighting at this level to win a battle that is bigger. I am concerned about all of those. I appreciate the students. I appreciate Gina being here and expressing her concerns as well. I hope that this board will avail themselves. It's my understanding from reading even minutes that the board has not even had opportunity to discuss this. And so I am assuming that the board has not voted or decided on this matter. It sounded like to me that we're going to comply, if that's what I heard. I hope that this board will make a decision, because I understand that the board has the power to do that. So what do we do about adults? What do we do about school functions that was addressed after school, football games, basketball games? Are we going to allow that to occur? See, this goes well beyond simply allowing our students to choose which gender and which restroom that they're going to go to. I hope that you'll avail themselves to the Attorney General. I want to encourage you to fight against the implementation of this ruling from our federal government. I also want you to encourage you to develop some kind of a common sense policy that will address this matter that will be handled to address all students, and I mean all students and parents involved. I think this can be, and obviously it's up to you, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
I just have a couple.
Just one moment. Sir, we'll acknowledge you in just a little bit when these people...
I was refused the right to sign up.
You have not been refused the right to sign up. When everyone that has signed up, we will allow you to address this as well. Okay, so don't, we will get to you, okay? Okay, no one has been refused. We understand some of you came in late after the paper had already came over to me. We will allow you who came in late to also address us. So just so you're aware of that, so there's no hard feelings in that regard. We understand, okay? So don't think that you're not going to have that opportunity to do that. All right, proceed.
I just have a couple quick comments, if I can now remember what they were. I guess my greatest concern in this is that it appears that we are taking this mandate as law. And I didn't go to Amherst schools, but I passed government class to know that the executive branch cannot make a law. And this is not law on the books. And so when we say that we're going to comply, I believe I've heard this say, well, we're not agreeing, but we're going to comply. When you comply, you've agreed by default. And those are my greatest concerns, that I feel like we're operating out of fear instead of wisdom and really thinking this through. I have grandchildren that live in Amherst, and I'm concerned. I have a little granddaughter and a grandson, and I'm concerned for their safety for the future. I'm just asking you to take this under advisement, really begin to think through this, and we can't make a decision like that for the future just based on fear of the federal government. Thanks.
Jason? You can see which letters are which on there.
It's like a sheep on skis, boss.
Okay, Aaron?
Thank you for hearing me. My name's Aaron Bosky. I have two children. One has graduated and one is still in high school. And I am on a couple boards myself, so I feel your pain. I understand the difficulty on both sides of this issue. I guess really, I know you guys aren't going to be able to answer questions, but my main question really has to do with just policy. What I've heard is we're dealing with this on a case-by-case basis. As I understand, Mr. Sayers has said that basically this is a guidance counselor issue. So my concern is pretty simple. If we're putting this in the hands of an individual, we're subjecting a lot of students to an individual decision. And the other question is that how is it going to be monitored for kids that say, well, I didn't have a chance to meet with a guidance counselor. So if we're going to make a policy, we've got to have something obviously that works and works within the legal system, which is a big concern of mine. And if we're going to do this in a policy way, then if we're doing it from a guidance counselor and we're saying there's certain students, I understand there's about 8 students in our current Amherst School District, then what about students that aren't part of that? If they decide that they are now transgender, are they going to be monitored? Are we going to have monitors at each bathroom? How is this going to be implemented? So my question is very difficult, I know, for you guys to be able to do this. And I just as Jane has mentioned, I feel very much for her and for her student, what she's going through. But we have to have a policy. And I hope very much that as you guys establish this, that we can know exactly what this is and we can be part of that. Thank you.